You have found the house of your dreams and you're ready to present an offer to the seller. When presenting an offer to the seller, there are some processes and strategies that you would do well to review and be familiar with before you present the offer. The first thing you want to do before you present an offer to a seller in any market is have your finances in order. Now, this usually means having a pre-approval letter. Sometimes they'll call it a pre-qual letter. But sometimes those letters can be received pretty quick on the internet through online lenders, and that's okay. But a better step would be to go to a local mortgage lender or your local bank and sit down with them and really talk about the situation. Make sure you can afford the house. Make sure that of the amount of money you can put up front into the house. A good mortgage lender or banker will help you find about various programs that can help with down payments or things like that. So just really have things in order. Don't just have a sheet of paper that says, hey, I can buy this. Another thing you want to do when presenting your offer is understand what the end goal is. So for instance, if you're trying to put a roof over your family's head, that's different than looking for a second home at the Deep Creek Lake for an investment or vacation purposes. So they're both important, but one could be more urgent than the other, so the strategy or the process might change a little bit, while the other, you have more time, not quite under the gun, and you may be looking for things to, pan out as they will. When presenting your offer, assuming your finances are in order, you have to think about what price you're going to present to the seller. Now, one strategy that seems to be common or has been common in the past is to lowball your seller. Now, that usually is not a good idea, and it usually isn't going to work. Why isn't it a good idea? Because it could insult the seller, and unless he or she is under extreme situations or circumstances, they're not going to accept it. So better to have your buyer's agent look at prices of properties that have sold in the last 6 months, even a year, like the house you're buying, and present that seller with a fair, reasonable price that makes sense for your family that you can afford to try and get the home that you like. Now, you have to be prepared for seller feedback that may not be reasonable. So as a buyer's agent, your buyer's agent is going to ask you to be reasonable, but a seller might be coming from a totally different place. Maybe they're selling their home out of necessity or desperation. Maybe a family member died. Maybe they no longer can enjoy the house because of health reasons. So they could be coming from an emotional state. They've spent decades perhaps in the house, blood, sweat, and tears, fixing things, painting, loving it, memories, and so forth. So no matter what you do, just keep in mind they may come back and be upset. But assuming your finances are in order, assuming you have presented a reasonable price to the seller based on fair market value of the local conditions, be prepared for inspections. When you're presenting your offer, you're likely going to have many inspections that you would like performed. These inspections are going to take time. Sometimes we want to buy a house, we think we can get everything done in 14 or 20 days, and frankly, it just doesn't happen. We have to rely on all these inspectors to schedule things, to bring reports back, to get approvals perhaps for various things, approvals for access to the house. It just can take some time. So just make sure that you allow enough time for the inspections to make sure that you get everything you need to make a solid decision about continuing with your purchase of the house. You also are going to need to pick a closing date. So usually that's 45 days, 65 days out. Can be quicker if someone is paying cash or has some other circumstances. But that closing date lets the seller know that you're serious, but it also helps you plan for what you need to plan for. So moving, as we know, is a stressful situation. That's just the way it is. So we need to be organized, have a solid plan in place so that everyone is on the same page. When you think about strategies or processes for presenting an offer to a seller, if you're paying cash, then frankly, some of this stuff doesn't even apply. Some cash buyers in a crazy market won't get inspections. Some cash buyers in a crazy market don't need to worry about appraisals and stuff connected to a loan. So if you're paying cash, good for you, and hey, some of this doesn't apply. But most of us need to get a mortgage to purchase any home. So again, if you're presenting an offer to a seller, you found the home that you like, have your finances in order, present a fair, reasonable offer, have an appropriate time for the home inspections plus all the other inspections, then have a closing date that makes sense for everyone so that hopefully you can get into the home of your dreams.